Good evening.
Good evening.
I don't know if people have noticed, but I think our posts about group are getting lazier and lazier. Like Dave used to spend a good couple of hours writing a blurb to go on Facebook and to advertise, and would go on one of the photo stock companies and try and find really nice pictures. But it doesn't seem to attract people, but just letting people know a little bit sooner generally gets people on.
Yeah.
But I did only manage to get it on Facebook today. But one of the things I said was that like last week's group felt like the conversation was really like full of insight and it was really rich. And what we did last week was we asked people that had been on the retreat to share any changes, experiences they'd had. And then for anyone else who wasn't on the retreat to share things they've been seeing or ask questions. And it's just been really nice to have it a little bit more of a discussion rather than a talk. And that was one of the things we got from the retreat. There definitely was talks, but then when everyone shared, and then when we all sat around meal tables and having conversation, like it was a privilege to be part of that retreat because there was so many things that people saw and like different friendships, and we realized how important it is for us to like all listen and learn from each other. And sometimes we get carried away with our own voices and our own stories, and actually listening to everyone last week and on the retreat just reminded us how much we all learn from each other. So tonight we have got stuff we can talk about, but if anyone had questions or anything they wanted to share, then we wanted to open the space up for that.
Can I say something?
You may indeed.
I went for another walk today on my own in the woods across the road. And initially I decided I wanted to go for another walk on my own, kind of in an area where there weren't many people, because that's a sort of challenge for me. And before I went out, I convinced myself that I didn't really have time to do it and that I was going to kind of do a safer walk. And then I got outside the front door and I changed my mind again. And I thought, you know what, I can do it. I can fit it in before I have to be back at work. And so I went across the road and I walked across the field, and I ended up doing a little woodland walk, which I hadn't. This was new for me as well. Last time I went round the lake, this time I decided to go for a little walk round the woods. And what I noticed was that I had thought in my head in terms of there was a little bit of tension and kind of, am I okay kind of thing. But I kind of recognised that it was just my thinking. And the thing that I noticed, which was different, was that I still felt okay, even though I had this kind of slightly background thinking going on. I was still walking along with a smile on my face. So I had kind of both things going on at the same time. And I read, I think it was in a Michael Neal book, where he talked about feeling crap in some way, but actually feeling okay while he felt rubbish. He kind of felt both things at the same time. And I read that ages ago and I didn't really understand it. And I didn't even realise while I was out on my walk that I was kind of feeling okay with feeling a little bit fearful. I didn't kind of realise I was feeling both things at the same time. I don't know whether that makes sense. And it was only later this afternoon I kind of thought, okay, so I didn't feel entirely comfortable, but there was also something about me that felt perfectly okay at the same time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you.
I love that.
And like for people that didn't meet Ali last week, like you used to be terrified to do that on your own, like go on a walk in those woods on your own. And since the retreat, you've just been going off and doing things and surprising yourself. And that is a big thing. And for some people they think, what do you mean going for a walk on your own? But I remember the first time I sat and had a meal on my own after I came across the principles, and I was someone that couldn't be in my own company. And to some people that would seem like a nothing, but for me, it was the biggest deal, because I knew that over a lifetime, that was me getting more comfortable in my own company and being able to sit and have dinner in front of other people on my own and it be okay. And there's no small thing that's happening for you at the moment, and it's lovely to share it and hear about it.
Thank you. And I'm still feeling really excited for some reason. I just kind of, I don't know. I just get up and I kind of, the feeling goes a little bit sometimes, but then each time I get up and I kind of think, I just feel like a bit of a kid. I'm kind of, oh, this is exciting. What's going to happen today? It's really strange.
It's called presence, love.
Yeah, I think it is. And that was something else I wanted to say. I realised after the weekend at the retreat that I had been 100% present the whole time. And I didn't really realise that at the time. But when I kind of reflected about it, I was just there the whole time. So there was something, I don't know what you guys did, but there was something that kind of, I don't know, helped bring that about.
We laced the food with magic mushrooms. We didn't.
We did.
This got on the internet. We did not.
Not just because it's going out on the internet. We actually didn't.
Oh, and we didn't. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I love that. One thing I just wanted. You said you were kind of feeding both the all rightness and feeling both. Forget it. Cool. I've just spoken to a lad yesterday, and God bless him, his sister rung me up 6 weeks ago. Said my brother's really not well. I'm really concerned about him. He's really concerned with what's going on in the world. I'm really worried about him. And I was like, oh, bless you. You know, it was my sister who saved my life, who got me help. So I could really kind of resonate with this lady who was trying to help her brother. And I said, is he ready? And she went, I think so. So she went for a walk, and she sent me a text the next day saying, no, he doesn't want to speak. He's all right. He's all right. I got a text off him last week saying, right, I'm really not well. Could you speak to me? So I spoke to him, and it wasn't too difficult with this lad. He's already started to realise there's more to life, but he kind of taken the step in and then kind of gone, I need to run away. I need to do this. I need to become a healer. I need to leave my family. I need to blah, blah, blah. And we just talked about the principles, and I saw his lights come on. I saw some lights come on. And I spoke to him last night. This was the second call we had. And bless him, he sent me a text today, and I think I described how Jesus was talking about heaven and hell not being places, states of consciousness. And that's what he was really pointing to. Jesus was always pointing to the mind. But when he was talking about the mind, he wasn't talking about the mind as we perceive the mind. He was talking about the power of the mind and its capabilities. And you're going to pull it out again. Yeah. And its capabilities and its power and the unseen power that actually truly resides for all people when they wake up to it. The powers within for creation, for manifestation, for affecting matter, for whatever, healing themselves, healing other people, healing the planet, changing the consciousness of the planet, like superpowers that lie within all people. And he, bless him, he sent me a text just today. And I played it at dinner time for people to hear. Pete, Jen's dad, said, has he been drinking? He was laughing his head off. And he was saying, Dave, my stomach hurts. I can't laugh anymore. Then he's laughing and 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 laughing.
And swearing.
Fucking hell, effing hell. And laughing for 3 minutes, constant laughing. Then it disappears, and he sends me another text message 10 minutes later saying, Dave, it's so simple. It was all a perspective created by myself. He said, all we need to do is love. And he said, I saw this. He said, I sat down, I put the television on. He said, and after I talked to you, I said, I sat down, put the television on. And all I was doing was, there was only watching the television. That's all there was. There was just watching the television. He had a moment of pure presence. That's all there actually is me watching the television. The rest of it is noise, distraction that our minds think up. And he saw it. That moment of presence showed him what the antithesis of that is the mind, creating and generating thoughts and what ifs and trying to figure it all out and trying to keep himself safe and trying to keep other people safe. And he said, I get it. All we need to do is love people. That's what he's saying. He's like, it's all we have to do is just love one another. He said, and that's going to change everything. And that's it, Al. Presence. Presence. We all think we're looking for something other than the here and now. I'll be all right when. I'll be all right when. I'll be all right when. You are all right. Right here, right now. There is only all rightness. I love that. Cheers, Al, love. Buzz.
Oh yeah, just following on from what you were saying about the magic mushrooms in the food at the retreat.
Which didn't happen.
I'm joking. Yeah, interesting something that I'm kind of aware of, which I want to run by you guys just to find out. I want to talk it through because I haven't talked it through with anybody yet, but there's been a couple of occasions since the retreat where I've been in what I consider to be a bit of a fearful situation. I'm going into something I'm not comfortable with, and I wasn't aware originally that it was fear, but I noticed that on both of the days that I was about to do, both of the days, it was the evening. I was going to do a shift in the evening for the Samaritans, and I was actually going to be on the phone for the first time ever on my own, and I felt really rough all day. And I mean, by rough, I mean, I just felt something in my stomach. My stomach wasn't right. I ate okay. I was fine in that respect. But it wasn't until afterwards, because what happened was the minute I got on the phone, I was fine. And I got, went through the shift, perfect, no problems. And the next time, again, I felt a very, very similar. I had this feeling in my stomach, almost like in the pit of my stomach, as though I was going to be sick or I want to go to the toilet, but I wasn't. There was nothing wrong. I wasn't hungry or anything. And it came to me, was this just fear? And then my next thought was, has something happened to my awareness since I was on that retreat, possibly? Because that's something that maybe I was just not aware of previously. Does all of this make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, man.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got less tolerance because you are more aware of what you do to yourself. But that's the thing. I'm one of the retreats when Elsie was speaking. She speaks a lot about the awareness, and I think sometimes we kind of get caught up on the content or the feeling. But she was saying, no, but you've got the awareness now of what's happening. You've got the awareness. And Lord. Are they off out?
Say it as though you're excited by it.
No, but I'm like, is she listening to me?
No,
she's going home. Catherine's picking her up.
Hello.
Bye.
See you at the weekend.
See ya.
She's gone.
I didn't expect her to do that. She normally hides from Zoom. So the awareness is enough. The awareness is key. And I think sometimes we think we have to not have that kind of thinking or not have that kind of experience. But the fact that we're aware of it is enough. And then I think sometimes we want to kick in and go, what should I do with that? But there's nothing to do with it. The awareness is enough. And I think it took me a really long time to get a feel for that. Because as soon as I became aware of a type of thinking that I must be doing or a type of feeling that I was living out of that was uncomfortable, immediately I'd want to do something with it or change it or work on it. And actually it is in the recognition of that being enough, that the intelligence within us does what needs to be done. And what the intelligence has first done is brought awareness. And then if we keep an open mind, we get gifted new thought and new ways of living. And so much of the stuff that we have lived out of naturally falls away. Like normally when I used to do retreats, I would get that kind of feeling for a few days. And actually initially, with the first sort of couple of years, maybe a week or so before, I'd start living like that. And there's nothing I could do about it, but I was really aware, like, wow, there's something going on within you. And then this last retreat, there was hardly any of that. And it feels like I never worked on that at all. But you can see how intelligent we are and how shifts happen. Like, and we don't know what it is. You don't know what's changed within you, but suddenly you've become aware of a type of feeling that you live out of. And you don't even know what happened. But it's almost like staying with that rather than thinking, move on, do something about it. Does that make sense? I felt that was a bit of a ramble.
Yeah. No, totally. And I mean, yeah, that's kind of where I was at with it as well. It was, I went through it and didn't feel, once I'd done the thing, I wasn't feeling like that anymore. So that I sort of started thinking, well, that probably was just an awareness of the fear. And the interesting thing you just touched on there, Jen, is that I actually felt it coming up to your retreat as well. And I actually thought I had a bug. I thought I had like a stomach bug. But again, within a couple of days of the retreat, it had gone. And so that was the first time I thought, well, maybe I was a bit anxious about something. Maybe, I was out of my comfort zone. I mean, I know we met you guys once before, but obviously I didn't know anybody else in the room, or again, not something that I would normally be aware of, but maybe that's what it was, because it was exactly the same kind of feeling.
That's cool.
I think
I'm just laughing at your heavy breathing.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
We're always looking for plain sailing. That's what everybody's looking for, plain sailing. That's not the nature of life. Where's growth in plain sailing? Where's evolution in plain sailing when everything just stays the same? Where's the evolution? Where's the change? Where's the fun? Where's the dynamic nature of it? That's not the way nature works. Nature's always all right. Nature is always all right. But it undergoes all kinds of different changes. Climatic change. Big talk about that right now, isn't there? Oh yeah, the climate change, man-made climate change. Climate's always changed. But we'll base all the data on 200 years and a graph. But climate's always changed. Nature's in a constant state of change. We are nature. We're in a constant state of change. Nature doesn't do plain sailing. It is plain sailing. It is plain sailing because it is all things. It is all things, including ourselves. That's the plain sailing. When you start to look in that direction, that's the plain sailing. But that same thing shows up in an infinite amount of ways, just like our mind. Shows up as trees and insects and extinction and new beings coming into creation, and just like our mind. And everybody's looking for this plain sailing within the mind as an experience. I just want to be all right all the time. Is that too much to ask for? I just want to be all right all the time. That one belief causes so much suffering. That one belief causes so much dissatisfaction. That one belief will mean that an individual will go from probably around 9 years old till death, living in a really unhappy state, simply because they believe that they shouldn't feel certain feelings, as though those feelings aren't part of nature, as though those feelings aren't part of this magical cosmic mind that we are experiencing right now. Infinite potentials. The killer is that belief. I should just be all right. I should always feel happy. I should never feel sad. I should never feel grief. Imagine walking around. This is what we do. We walk around with that. Most people walk around with that belief. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I don't feel right. There's something wrong. No, there's nothing wrong. Your consciousness is showing you an expression of a perception that you're holding about the moment. That's it. And that can't go wrong. It's impossible. And I think if this has done anything for me, it has allowed me to think anything I like. It's also allowed me to be very discerning with my own mind. It's allowed me to be aware of thought rather than being thought itself. I am aware of thought. Or rather than being my thoughts, I am aware of thoughts. And rather than being certain feelings, I'm aware of feelings. Well, if I'm aware of feelings, that means that's not me. If I'm aware of thoughts, that means those thoughts cannot be me. So who am I? I am plain sailing. I am the plain sailing. I am the plain sailing that sees all experiences, that gets confused and identifies with them from time to time, thinks that's who I am, or I'm an anxious person, or I'm an angry person, or I'm a this, I'm a that. I think when people start to wake up, they start to find so much more acceptance. I feel like fucking shit right now. Sorry, man. Right now, I'm having a crap day. But the thing is, it's not a day. It's a moment. And it lasts as long as it lasts before it becomes something else in this ever-changing dynamic force we call mind or thought or consciousness. None of it's permanent apart from the plain sailing self, who is always all right. That bears witness to all. The true self.
So the story stops living your life for you. Like your story, your ego, what you think.
And what you feel.
It stops dictating what you do and what you don't do. So like Ali, the feeling used to dictate what you could do. You couldn't go for a walk in the woods because you were bought into that story. Whereas today, you're aware of the story, but there was the awareness and there was the smile on the face. And like, Barry, I don't know about you in the past, but whether or not that feeling maybe would have made you cancel what you were doing in the evening, thinking, oh, there's maybe something wrong with me. Like you stop sort of dictating and managing your life on those untruths. And that plain sailing, that true nature starts living life, regardless of what kind of comes and goes. And I think it is different than what I think a lot of people think they're looking for. I think a lot of people do think they're looking to not have to feel uncomfortable or not have that kind of thinking. But actually the awareness is key. Like, you're aware of what it is. Whereas before, my thinking literally dictated what I could and couldn't do. If I felt uncomfortable about a situation, I'd find a way of not doing it. Whereas now I'm like, I can feel totally uncomfortable and not buy into it. And there's something else that kind of lives me. And I think it is that we realign with that one nature that we all are, and get less interested in our individual stories and characters that we've made up that have held us back and limited us. And I think that when Ali was talking about the excitement, I think it's because that excitement is like the possibilities now. Wow, what the possibilities for life if I'm not living out of limiting belief, thinking I'm that belief, thinking I'm that person. There's an awareness that you're not that kind of thinking, you're not that person. So now it's like, well, anything's possible. What next? What's going to come up? And we listened to something earlier, it was talking about
exciting, doesn't it?
going back to that more childlike state, and it is about that just excitement for life. But we get so lost in story that life becomes hard, not exciting, not fulfilling, not a gift for many people a lot of the time. So it's really nice to hear both of you speak, and over a lifetime, like, what will that mean? Like, what else will be revealed? And it's like, I feel like we're all just at the beginning of the potential of what could then show up.
Always. It's always the beginning. Cheers, Bonnie lad. Mel said, it's like we have psychological
Physiological, isn't it?
Go on
Physiological.
off your scamper.
It's like we still have the physiological response to situations, but with less of a story around it. The feeling is purer, so more noticeable, maybe.
Not smell. Anybody else? It's a really long way around to the toilet. Anything anybody wants to talk about? Any questions, insights, anything anybody wants to share?
Hi, Dave.
Oh, yeah,
I shared before, didn't I, that I was having a really tough time with anxiety and intrusive thoughts.
Yeah.
Well, me being me, like a freight train, I had to get a diagnosis because I suspected I had OCD, and I got a diagnosis. And I feel crap because I've now got a diagnosis. And it's like the label is, oh my God, I've got the letter, you have OCD. My anxiety has been, off the scale. It's been horrific. I have started medication. I know you and I talked about this, and I don't know. I've been around the principles for probably 5 or 6 years now, and I don't know. I'm just doing I'm having treatment for OCD as sort of recommended by the NICE guidelines, like NHS guidelines, and it's really weird because the mornings are really, really, really bad, and then it eases off in the evenings because I have been trying to get on with life. Like this morning I went to an art class, and I try and make sure that I just get on with life despite feeling pretty damn awful. And like my body feels like it's in terror. That's the only way I can describe it. The anxiety is so bad. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that label, yeah, I'm feeling a bit like there's a big weight on me now because I've now got a label.
You do know the label doesn't actually really exist. It's not a thing.
I wish I hadn't bloody got it, if I'm honest, because I suspected, because I've been through, this is my 3rd episode, really bad anxiety in 6 years. And it definitely comes on after stressful periods in my life, like really intense stressful periods. I don't know. I think I'm a bit of a perfectionist as well. I wanted to get the treatment right. I go there, get the right treatment for what my condition is. And I'm kind of kicking myself because as soon as I got the letter confirming about my diagnosis, I was just like, and it kind of described a couple of the thoughts I was having, like the intrusive thoughts. And on paper, they look really frightening. And I was like, oh my God, now that is on my file. I look like a right nutter, you know? And I just, and, you know, obviously, and I feel really scared. I feel like, anyway, that's where I'm at. And I just wanted to share that.
Just to share what you believe your source of the anxiety to be.
So sorry, Dave, say that again.
Would you be prepared to share with me what you believe your source of the anxiety to be, or do you not know?
Yeah, okay. So intrusive thoughts. So basically what I've learned through treatment is that every human being gets intrusive thoughts. And I mean scary, horrible, you'd never tell a living soul, terrifying intrusive thoughts, yeah? And mine has picked a kind of a scary topic, and the sort of obsessive part is, so for most human beings that I've learned is that everyone has scary thoughts, but they go, woof, that was weird, and then they move on. But with someone like me, I cannot stop looking at them, and I'm terrified of them, and I'm like, what does it mean about me? Oh my God. And I delve into them, and then words remind me of that theme, and you know, I get triggered all the time, and I can't seem to let them just go. There's almost like a danger signal in my brain that's kind of gone awry. So my body feels like it's in danger and the anxiety is pumping through me. And then something will remind me of the thoughts that have frightened me. And then it keeps happening. And then, you know what I mean? So it's really hard not to just let them pass.
Does anybody on the screen have a clue what Emma's actually talking about? Or is Emma the only person on the screen?
Here I am.
Who has these kind of thoughts? I don't think you're the only person on the screen, Em.
I just can't let them go.
Right, forget it. Forget that. No, I mean that. I mean that. Forget that. Forget trying to let them go. Why would you want to let them go?
They're just horrifying to me.
But why do you need to let them go?
Because it really feels like a connection. As soon as that particular thought comes in, my body reacts. It's like,
I'm glad you said that bit, because that's useful.
Yeah.
Your body is always responding to the mind. I was working with somebody the other day, and she was saying, she went and saw somebody and said, oh, your nervous system's like heightened, and you know, it's your nervous system that's the problem. You got this heightened nervous system, you know, you've gone through all these stresses in your life, and you got this heightened nervous system. And I said, all right, so the dead body's got nervous system, hasn't it? And somebody just died, there's a nervous system present. But does the dead body feel anxiety? Of course it doesn't. So let's bring it back to simplicity. There must have to be the conscious awareness of the human being within the body to experience anything. Okay. Let's leave the body alone. Ignore the body. Ignore the brain. Ignore all that. There is nothing to be, there is no benefit to an individual. I remember working with a fella and I said, what's the problem? Then he said, I've created these neurological pathways in my brain and I need to try and figure out how to unwire them.
That's what I feel like.
Right. I'm like, brilliant. What are you going to do? I don't know. Of course you don't know, because you're looking in the wrong direction. You will not find what you are looking for if you look in the wrong place. How can you find what you're looking for if you're looking in the wrong place? We look at the already formed. Too late. Every single thought you have, it's too late. Did you know that every single thought that you have is immediately in the past? It no longer exists in the now. You cannot change a thought. Why? Because it's immediately in the past. You cannot change a thought. That's why nobody can change their thoughts. Because you cannot change time. You cannot change what doesn't exist in the now. So it's like the moment we've had a thought, it is immediately in the past. But you're absolutely right. There is absolute correlation between what your mind dreams up and what you experience as a reality, physically and experientially, as reality for yourself, what you see in the world. And then you've got to then take those, what appear to be three things, the physical experience, the mind experience, and the external experience, and combine them together and realize there isn't three, there's just one. Everything is a manifestation of the mind. Okay, so now all we're going to look at is the mind now. The rest will take care of itself. All the neurological pathways, everything. I was diagnosed with chemical imbalances in my brain. I was diagnosed with depression, and I would have it for the rest of my life. That's what I was told. By, cover some ears, Mel.
No, just don't say it.
Some fucking experts. By these experts. Experts who told me I was mentally ill. I was fortunate enough to wake up and see they could not have been more wrong. I was fine. And when I realized I was fine, I saw that everybody else on the planet is fine too. They just don't know it. They believe they're not. And as Jesus Christ said, it is done unto you as you believe. Whatever you believe shall be your reality. That's your gift. It's your gift. Whatever you want to believe about yourself, that's how you will be perceived to yourself. Whatever you want to believe about other people, that's how they will show up to you in your reality. It's not who they are, but it's how they will show up to you in your reality, and it will look real. Okay? I want to tell you, when I started doing my community group, when I started this community group, it started in a homeless shelter in person. And my first day, I had a load of men come, and they sat down. Millardo there, first thing he said was, I got OCD. Him over there said, I'm bipolar. I got thrown all these labels. And I rung up a psychiatrist that night and I said, look, I'm trying to help people here. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist. I said, but I'm trying to help people. And I'd wonder if you'd be able to help me. And he said, yeah, of course I can, Dave. Really nice he was. And I said, look, I'm curious about labels. Psychiatrist, top of the trade. Okay, these are people who medicate people. Psychiatrist, I won't speak to a psychologist, I'll speak to a psychiatrist. Top of the mental health game. So I'm interested in the labels. I'm interested in how you come to the conclusion and gain the accuracy, where you get your accuracy from. I'm curious. And so I clumsily started to ask him some questions. And I asked him the first question. I said, when I was at college and we did an experiment, we always had a control next to the experiment. Could you please tell me what the control was next to the experiment when you came up with the diagnosis of a label? He said, sorry, Dave, I don't really understand what you mean. I said, no, all right, shit question. I said, did you kind of look at somebody and go, you've got your life together? You know, you're doing well financially, you're pretty happy, you're married, whatever, you know, you're the archetypal good citizen. Anybody who's not like you, there must be something wrong with them. And he said, so sorry, Dave. He said, I don't really understand what you mean. You're not being clear. I said, no, I might get that. I said, you obviously have a line for mental illness. I said, what's your line, or where's your line for mental health? Mental health. And he said to me, these are his exact words, and this is exactly word for word what he said, because I couldn't believe what I heard. He went silent. And after about 5 or 6 seconds, he came back to me and he said, Dave, it seems to me like my industry owes everybody a massive apology, because we never work with mental health. We only ever work with mental illness. I said, okay, at what point then would you ever diagnose somebody as being mentally healthy? And he said, we wouldn't. We would not diagnose mental health. I would not diagnose you as being okay. I would have to find a label to give to you, because that's my job. That's what I am paid to do. It's my job to find a diagnosis that I can give to you. And I remember speaking to another fellow about this, and he worked for Mind, the charity. And he said, asked him a similar question. He said, well, put it this way, Dave. He said, if you came in here and you've been parked out there and you've got a parking ticket and you come in and you're pissed off, he said, we will find you a label. I'm like, seriously, this is the system of helping people. I am going to tell you that you're ill. I saw how I had spent years in the psychiatric system believing I was ruined and I was not good enough and I could never aspire to be anything other than broken. Because I can't, because it's who I am, it's what I am, it's my brain, I'm chemically imbalanced, I was told as well. Chemical imbalances of the brain I suffered from. My brain wasn't imbalanced. I kept on thinking aggressive thoughts. And because I kept on thinking aggressive thoughts, my body was getting ready to fight. So of course I'm full of adrenaline and cortisol.
I just wanted to say as well that one of the things that occurred to me was you're having these kind of thoughts, but you have like an awareness of them. I was talking about it earlier, but how many people have those kind of thoughts and they act on it because they have no awareness? And I think we're very quick to judge the content, but don't give ourselves we don't have any gratitude for the fact, like, wow, I'm aware of it and I don't act out of it. And we've just worked with a young girl who's 26 and she's had loads of health problems, and then has started having really intrusive thoughts and really dark thoughts, and then almost like voices telling her about other people. She had all of this stuff going on, and to the point where she felt like she was going mad. And then she actually started having hallucinations and things. And she said, but one of the things that coming across the principles has done for her is she knows her voice. She knows her voice. And it's not even necessarily that it sounds different, but she knows there's a goodness and a love inside of her. And she's kind of attuned to that. And so the stuff that's coming has been driving her mad, and it's been keeping her up at night, and it's been terrifying her in so many ways. But she said she's sort of grounded in that. And for her, she felt that it was helpful to go and see somebody who spiritually has shut her down, because she almost felt like she was almost like a psychic medium or something. She was getting downloads. But she said it was the thing that helped her the most was the awareness that that's not me. This content is not me. And she said now she is absolutely filled with compassion and love and a feeling of empathy for people who commit horrendous crimes. Because she said, if you do not know not to act on that thought, you act on it. You're unconscious. You've got no awareness. And she said, thank goodness I've had awareness. I've had consciousness around it. And I think when we start to see it that way, we identify more with that pure awareness state, and we become grateful for that. And the other stuff becomes less noisy. It's not personal to you that you're having these kind of thoughts, but you must at some level feel that it means something about you, or it is personal.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really good way of looking at it. But yeah, and I've got a book on self-compassion, you know, for OCD, and I mean, the thoughts terrify me. So I know that, and I am very aware of them. Yeah, and I think it's just that alarm system going off, isn't it? Like we talk about in the principles, like the dashboard is red, and it's kind of just like, oh, okay, yeah, thanks for sort of giving me that alarm system in a way.
There's something else you said. Do you mind me if asking you your age?
My what age?
Yeah.
19. 46.
Oh, you're 46? Go ask. I thought you were 30 something.
Come on now.
You said you've been around the principles for 6 years.
Yeah.
Right. You've been the principles for 46.
Mm.
Right. The principles are not a psychotherapy. They're not a modality. And this is the vast difference between the principles and other modalities. The principles are talking about a universal force called mind. Why is it universal? Because it is applicable to all. Okay? A universal force, consciousness, awareness, the breath of life. The universal force of thought, applicable to all beings and all things, applicable to mind, applicable to consciousness. Consciousness is applicable to mind, and consciousness is applicable to thought. It's all the same thing. There really is only one thing. So the principles can't fix anybody, because they are the principles. And the reason why they can't fix anybody is because those principles, which they are, cannot be broken. How do you break thought? How do you damage consciousness? How do you scar mind? It can't be done. These are not physical attributes we're talking about. We're talking about energetic attributes. They're energy, they're non-form, which create form. Form in form of reality, thoughts and feelings, experiences, perceptions. So the principles can't fix anybody, because they're not broken and they cannot be broken. They are the principles. We are the principles. Everybody and everything is the principles. And bear in mind, the principles is just words. But what they are pointing to is real, the true reality, the true reality. The true reality, how can you say it's a true reality, and how can I say that my reality that I see right now, or this reality, isn't real? Well, if the way I see my reality was real, everybody would see this world I see and there wouldn't be a single disagreement. We wouldn't need to talk about anything. There'd be no language. That's an illusion, but the principles are ultimately the only real truth. Because they apply to all people. Everybody right now is the principles in action, having whatever experience they're having about this conversation on this screen. But you see, now what the mind does, what the human mind does, is it creates dualities. Infinite dualities, just over here and over there, and right and wrong, and good and bad, and illness and health, and it creates all these ideas, you and me. That doesn't exist in truth. Truth being the principles. It doesn't exist in the principles. It only exists because the mind dreams the idea that we're different and separate and broken, not healthy. This is why Jesus said, it's done unto you as you believe. Mark said something so beautiful the other day. Where's he gone? He's still on. Hi, Mark. Mark said, people say, I'll believe it when I see it. And Mark said, but that's not true. He said, you will see it when you believe it. You will see what you believe. Sid said, it's all thought. Same thing. Okay, so even within the mind, we create the idea that there is such a thing as a good thought and a bad thought, an intrusive thought, a positive thought, a negative thought. I've drawn a little diagram. Forgive me for those people who've seen this.
And Den, we have seen you've got your hand up, so we will.
Yeah, Den, we're coming. But
sometimes I think it seems like we haven't seen, but we have.
I've drawn a little diagram. I was going to do this on the retreat. This is the one which I didn't do on the retreat. That right there. Can you guess what it is yet? Bad taste jokes. I love them. That right there.
Also, I'm not sure you're supposed to make that joke anymore. To him.
Why?
Am I getting myself confused? Was he not convicted of something?
Me?
No, not you. No, the impression that you did of who was it?
The innocent Rolf Aru?
Okay, I take it back. I'll go away.
No, it's just bad taste, mate. I love bad taste jokes. Sorry about that, then. That's an ocean. Ocean. I want to talk about the simplicity and the single nature of reality. Okay, and I came up with this analogy when I was with Sasha, who's not on the moment. People know Sasha from the retreat. And she was asking me about, I have this thought and I have that thought. And people think this in the principles. Oh, I know what thought is. It's that happens in there. That one. There's another. That's what thought is. Oh, there's another one there. And there's another. Oh, there's a negative one. Oh, I know what thought is. That wasn't what Sid was talking about. He wasn't talking about thoughts. He wasn't remotely interested what we think. He talked about the power of thought. Universal mind, universal consciousness, universal thought. Spiritual mind, spiritual consciousness, spiritual thought. It's all the same. It's all magic. So I want you to imagine this is an ocean. Admitted it's a really crap one. It also has a beginning and an end. But oceans don't. Really, there isn't a difference in sea. You could jump in a boat wherever we are on the British Isles and we can sail off to anywhere that isn't landlocked. All around the world. You can do laps and laps and laps and laps of laps infinitely on the ocean of the planet. There is no beginning and there is no end to the ocean. But all over the surface of the planet Earth are different waves, different size waves. They appear different. So we have a tiny ripple, perhaps right now, somewhere out in the mid-Atlantic where it's probably quite still. And then we've got tidal waves, the tsunamis that wash away nuclear power stations like Fukushima. Whether it's the tiny ripple or whether it's the tsunami, it's still just the ocean. Always. It cannot be anything else. Whether it's a big Pacific roller being surfed somewhere off Hawaii, whether it's a little ripple just coming in somewhere on the North Sea, a little wave just coming washing in that just gets your foot wet as you're walking along the beach. It's made of the same stuff. And this is what Sasha was saying to me. She was saying, Dave, what about this thought? What about that thought? What about this thought? And we're actually stood by Grasmere, a lake in the Lake District. And I said, Sash, look out the sea. Look out to the water. What do you see? She said, waves. I said, good. It's quite quick. Prayed to God she didn't say ducks or geese or something like that. First thing she said was waves. She said ducks or geese. I'd have gone, no, Sash, look again. But it was waves. I was like, right, you see waves. I said, tell me about the waves. She said, sorry, Jen, I'm covering your face up.
That's right.
She said, well, they look like they're moving. So they look like they're moving, they flow. So what else can you tell me about the wave, Sash? She said they're all different sizes. They all appear different. Some over there, there's some over there, some big ones there, there's some smaller ones there. I said, what about that wave over there, Sash? Is that any different to that wave over there? She said, no, it just looks different. It's still just water. What that says is they move, they flow, they appear different, and it's all just water. I said, this is the problem here, Sash, that you're stuck with right now, is you wanted to talk to me about these things and you're trying to find truth. You're trying to find some logic, some knowledge by staring at something that, that's the first thing she said was,
Okay.
yeah. They come and they go. Waves come and go. They're born, and then at some point they die off. They have a crest and they have a trough. As one crest becomes the trough, there is another crest being born. Come and they go. I said, you're trying to find logic about who you are and your safety and your mental health by looking at these waves. You're looking at something, you're trying to make sense of life. I said, these waves are like your thoughts. They come and go. They move. They don't sit around. They're ever changing. They flow through. They all appear different. All water. I said, you're trying to make sense of it all by looking at your thoughts. I said to her, is any one of those waves more real than the next wave? She said, no. They're all as real as each other. They're all the same. They're all water. So on here, I've just written a few little things I've written. So for perhaps what we believe to be true is a wave. It's a wave. What I think is true and what other people think is true are very different things. what I believe to be right is very different to other people. And
Very.
very in some cases, yeah. The future. A lot of anxiety is created around the future. The future is just a wave within the mind. It doesn't actually exist. It never has. The wave of the future is a thought. The future is a thought. It's not a place. It's not a destiny. It never comes. Put false there. What I believe to be false is different to other people. I've put the past there. The past isn't real. It doesn't exist. Once existed, but now it's a wave of the mind. It's a thought. These are thoughts. This is your thinking. Okay, I've put what's wrong there, what I believe to be wrong. It's very different to other people a lot of the time. I have OCD, I've put there. It's another thought. I've also put in there, I don't have OCD. You can put anything on there. Money, finance, relationship, COVID, reptilian aliens, whatever you want. It's all a figment of the imagination. Okay, so we are mesmerized by this surface of the water here. We're totally mesmerized by this. This is our reality. The problem is it's ever shifting. It's ever shifting like the surface of the water, like the surface of the ocean. It does not sit still. You'd walk down the ocean one day and you would go, friggin' hell, that ocean today, it was violent. It was so aggressive. It was so powerful. It was washed away a train track in Cornwall. And the next day, you couldn't believe it. You walked down and the ocean was flat calm. It was so peaceful. It was so still. The ocean surface, the surface of the ocean does not sit still. You cannot pin it down. It will change tomorrow. It has never looked like it looks right now, ever before. In its wave pattern, it's never looked like it looks right now. It's totally unique in every single moment. Doesn't appear so when you walk down and you just go, oh, there's the ocean. But the wave pattern on it is totally unique in every single moment. It has never appeared like that before in its whole entire existence. I showed this diagram to a man who was a deep sea diver who was struggling. And I said, you're a deep sea diver. I said, tell me, imagine this is the North Sea and you're going down on one of the rigs. It's terrible, that. Sorry. I used to go to school with a girl called Rachel Rigg. Right. Right. Imagine you're getting in the water and you're going into the water and you're going to go downwards on one of the rigs. I said, what's it like when you get in the water? He said it's choppy and it's cold and it throws you about. But I'm used to that now. I said, all right, cool. So what's it like when you get 10 meters down? He said, it's still. He said, you don't move. He said, sometimes, he said, I'll look up and I can't believe what's going on the surface. He said, you look up and you just see all this turbulence and violence. He said, but 10 meters down, it's just perfectly still. I said, is it always like that? He said, yeah. See, when you get down to that depth, it's always like that everywhere you go in the world. So underneath the ocean surface is this total stillness that exists. But we don't get to see it because we just look out over the surface. All we see when we go to the sea is we look out over the surface and we judge it accordingly. as to how we perceive it to be. Some people find it terrifying when the sea is angry. Some people find it exhilarating. So we end up in this situation where we end up having all these waves within our mind, and we start to identify with them. And we start to think that we are these waves. I am these thoughts. That's the ego. That's the character. Like the character of the ocean is angry, the character of the ocean is peaceful. That's the ego, that's the character. That's the character that we perceive ourselves to be. It's made up. It's made up from things that come and go, that move, that flow, always appear different. They're always made out of the same stuff. So on there, I've also put, because it's a big common one, I've put the suicide thought in there just for good measure. Suicide thought. Fucking hell, that's a serious thought. I mean, when you start getting the suicide thought, you are seriously mentally ill. The suicide thought. Paul's not on tonight, but I remember showing this diagram on one of the retreats, and Paul was a man who tried to commit suicide 2 weeks before he watched the retreat. And I wrote on there, suicide under a wave, and I put under another wave, what flavour yogurt do I want for tea? I said, they're both made of the same stuff. They're both made of thought. They're both the same thing. One of them we think is more real and more important, and the other one we think is less important. But in reality, like two waves on an ocean, they're both expressions of the same force. They're both expressions of the same force, thought, mind, consciousness. It's all the same thing. No matter what we experience, it is always born of the same stuff. It's all the same thing. Fear is a wave on the ocean, just like joy is a wave on the ocean. Fear and joy are exactly the same, made of exactly the same stuff. It's made of thought. Good thought is made of the same stuff as bad thought. It's all the same thing. This is an illusion we're talking about. This is how the illusion of life is created. This is why it is an illusion, because it doesn't look like it's all the same thing. It looks like our experience is created from many different things. Well, you know, I've got hormones, I've got my nervous system, I've got my diagnosis now, and I've got this thing that happened to me in the past, and I've got my religious beliefs, and I've got all that is made of thought. It's all made of thought. So we end up getting really kind of tied up. Give me 1 second, I was doing this on the fly.
You can read it anyway.
No, I'm going to have to read it out. Everybody wants to talk about the waves. I have this wave, I have that wave, I have this experience, I have that experience. I said to Sasha, forgive me, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the ocean. Or in this case, I'm talking about Grasmere Lake. I want to talk to you about what you truly are, what you really are, who you really are. Waves come and go. Ideas, thoughts, beliefs, who we think we are comes and goes. And if we're that wave, why are we not that wave? And if we're not that wave, why are we not that wave? And why that thought? Why am I that thought and not that thought? It's all the same thing. But the true self, or God, as some people call it, source, as some people call it, that says the power of thought, written really terribly, as some people call it, consciousness, as some people call it, mind, as some people want to call it, Brahman, other words, Buddha, Hashem, Spirit. That's what we are. We are the source from which all our thoughts and ideas actually come from. And everybody is that. Everybody is the same source showing up as a different wave pattern. And it's our wave pattern, it's my wave pattern, it's Jen's wave pattern, it's Emma's wave pattern, it's Xander's wave pattern. But it's all made of thought, like every single wave pattern in the ocean is made of water. There is no such thing as a wrong wave. The ocean doesn't create wrong waves. What about the one that took out Fukushima? It wasn't a wrong wave, it was a totally correct wave for what took place underneath the surface of the ocean. It's totally correct. It wasn't wrong. No such thing as a wrong wave. There is no such thing as a wrong thought. There is no such thing as a wrong feeling. Nature doesn't create imperfect. We just have the capacity to create a wave that says, I'm imperfect. And then we have the capacity to believe it, to solidify that wave, to freeze it in time, to think it's real, to think it's more real than, oh, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not that. I am perfect. You see, when people realize that they are perfect, it'll come via wave, but they will be realizing the totality of themselves. They will be getting a glimpse of the totality of their true self. Now, the ocean has faced ice ages, meteorite collisions. We've chucked atom bombs at the ocean. It's not been broken yet. You cannot destroy the ocean of mind. The infinite potential, like an ocean, is an infinite potential of waves. It can produce any size wave. It can produce any wave pattern. The mind is the same thing. We're so busy looking at the waves, we're ignoring where they come from. We are not a wave. That is mistaken identity. We are like an ocean that mistakens itself for a wave. Oh shit, I'm just this limited self. I'm just this limited kind of, I can't change my past. I can't change my past, so that's who I am now. And oh, this is terrible. I must go and seek some help because I'm broken and there's no hope. And now I've been diagnosed and now I'm on medication. And oh, this is terrible. Like there is no way out. All those waves that we think are real are more real than any other possibility that truly does exist. See, the whole conversation that Jen and I have, people initially start to talk to us about waves and we introduce them to the ocean. Did you know you are not those waves? Did you know you are an ocean? Infinite ocean, of infinite potential, of total health. You are totally healthy. It is only a thought that says you're not. A thought.
Thank you, Dave. That was amazing. This is why I keep coming back. I got a little bit lost along the way, but
Doesn't matter.
I'm going to listen. I'm going to keep coming back.
Doesn't matter about getting lost up because you already are the ocean. You are nothing but ocean. Everybody is. Nobody can be anything but ocean. It is only a thought that suggests that we are limited. And we dreamt that up because we are the ocean that dreamt it up. And we can dream up anything. That is our gift of life as a human being. Welcome to the ultimate freedom. Now that we're starting to wake up and we're starting to understand what mind's role plays in our experience, in our reality, experience and reality are two. How could reality exist without experience? You just quickly see that reality and experience are exactly the same thing. What is experience? What is experience? What is it to be alive? What is life? Life is a dance of ocean. It's a dance of ocean. The ocean is free to create any wave it wishes, just like the human being. When we stop identifying with our waves and start to consider the fact of the ocean, mind, or consciousness or thought, when people realize it, they quickly find God. Realize God. They realize God. Well, if you realize, where do you realize? You realize within your own being. So if you realize God within your own being, where is God? Who is God? Well, what is God? We are God. We always were. Mistaking ourselves for ideas that we once dreamt up. And we hold on to because we think it's real. I said this a couple of times now, but the video that woke me up was Sydney Banks. When I listened to Sid, and he said, he was talking to psychologists, and he said, you think it's real? He's talking about reality. He said, you think it's real? It's not real. You just think it's real. You think that what you think is true and factual. It's not. It's just a potential within an infinite amount of potential. It's the collapsing of infinite potential, infinity into a potential. It's the collapsing of infinity into a potential. The infinite force of the ocean creates, the infinite ocean, the whole ocean creates a tiny ripple or a tsunami. And every other wave it produces. It's the whole ocean doing it, because you can't separate the ocean. Everybody's perfect. Everybody's free. Everybody's healthy in mind. And you heal the mind. And all you do by healing the mind is realize the untruth of thoughts. Instantaneously heals the mind when you see that what you think is not real. Instantaneously heals the mind. All it's done is see past the illusion of reality. It's seen what was as opposed to what isn't. It sees the ocean as opposed to the waves. And then an individual realizes they're free. And they're perfect. And they always were. And OCD was a wave that a group of people sat around a table and dreamt up. Somebody thought it, wrote it down and said, that's what people are. They're that wave. No, they never were. And it came as a wave to an individual. OCD does not exist. It's a word. Disorder. The mind does not disorder. The mind is always perfect. The mind thinks and it experiences it as a reality, a full-on experiential reality. Spiritual does not disorder. You cannot disorder God. It doesn't exist. It only exists within the imagination of humanity. And in fact, only certain aspects of humanity, not all. And there is nothing to do. Because we are already it. Hope that helps, Em.
Thank you. It does. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, love. Anybody else?
I think Colette had her hand up. She's taking it down now, but she had
Colette,
it up
sorry,
for
love.
about. And then
It was Mark. He's eating toast. That's why he put it down.
Sorry, Mark.
No. All I was going to say was something I read, and it was saying about, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Which to me meant that whatever we believe to be true is what we get, and we're getting what we're praying all day long, and we're receiving whatever we think we are all the time. So if I have thoughts and belief that I'm frightened, I'll just get more thoughts about being frightened, because that's how it works. So whatever I believe to be true, that's the filter that I see my world through. And if you don't change your belief, you're just going to get the same thing coming all the time. But it's knowing that behind that, it comes back to that I am that I am. So whatever I believe I am, that's what I'm going to see in my life. And we're given, you can have anything you want. It is done unto you. But what we're doing is we're asking for the wrong stuff, because what are we believing to be true? That's what we're getting. So if we're thinking that we're scared, or believing that I'm overweight, or I'm ugly, or I'm shy, we're going to see that, constantly see that coming through all the time until we change our belief. But the belief is that we can have anything we want, because as long as we realize that we are, it comes through our belief. So if you change your belief, you change your life. If you change your thinking, your life changes. And it's really simple, but everyone thinks it's not that simple, but it is. It's so simple. It wouldn't be. It's not meant to be hard life. It's meant to be simple. It was made to be simple. And it's just that we overthink it, and then we start thinking, oh, I'm ill. So then we start looking, we get the thoughts of illness. So then we start believing it more. Then we start looking up about what this is, and then we get more and more and more of it, and we cause it ourselves. But before that, before everything, we're perfect. And it's just knowing that you're getting what you want all day long, and you ask and you shall receive. And that's what we're doing, receiving everything, but we're asking the wrong stuff. Until you see that, your life can't change. That's it. That's all I was going to say.
True. Just come back on screen, love. I want you to pick up the first thing you see.
I did this in the first group Emma ever joined.
Did I do this in the first group Emma ever joined?
Yeah, it was my pajamas, but I was just.
Same principle then. That's right, it was your pajamas. Same principle. Don't forget that. Where you focus your magical gift of consciousness, where you focus yourself, your attention, attention. Where you focus that, your mind then thinks. If you focus your mind on mental illness and damage and broken, your mind is perfectly, not disorderly, perfectly going to dream for you thoughts of mental illness and brokenness. It has no other choice. Where you point your attention is what the mind thinks. Like when you picked up your pajamas and you looked at your pajamas and I said, tell me about your pajamas, and you spoke fluently about your pajamas. You weren't saying octopus, earthquake, solar flare, Kathmandu, Ujinikabolikov. You spoke about your pajamas. It was concise, it was perfect, it was correct. There was no disorder in that. Do you see that? So when people start looking, this is what I had to, this is what I realized. It was like I had spent all my life looking at what was wrong with myself and the world. And all I got was what was wrong with myself and the world. And before I knew it, I'd created such a story. It was so overwhelming. I couldn't see anything else but terrible people and world's going to hell. There's plenty of people thinking that at the moment. But it was all an illusion of my own mind because I didn't understand it. I hadn't woken up to realize that the reality is not out there. It's not out there. Reality is an internal experience. You cannot know out there without the inside. So whatever out there is actually an internal expression. Pick up a cup of tea. Looks like it's out there. Looks like you put it into yourself. The whole thing is an experience. What it smells like, the temperature, the taste, if it's a good brew, a bad brew, it's all inside. Reality is always inside. It's all made of the same stuff. And you are never, and nobody ever is anything that they think. That's why nobody can know God. That's why nobody understands consciousness. That's why nobody understands what thought is. You cannot know what thought is. The moment you think you know what thought is, you have taken the infinite potential of whatever thought is, and you've collapsed it down into a potential and gone, oh, that's what thought is. And that's like walking out into the middle of the Sahara Desert, picking up a grain of sand and going, oh, look, fucking hell. I thought the Sahara Desert was much more impressive than that. Mistaken in the Sahara Desert for a grain of sand. But it's even more vast than that. You cannot know. You cannot know the magnitude of what we truly are. Who we think we are is an illusion. What we think we are is an illusion. Doesn't matter what we think. It will never be it. But what about if I have the thought of what we are? No, it's still not it. It can't be. It's impossible. It's impossible. We are greater than anything. We are greater than the sum total of humanity to now, from the beginning of time. Just one person is greater than the sum total of humanity's thinking to this very present moment since the beginning of time. Just one person. Because that one person is infinite potential. Every single thought that has occurred to humanity is the infinite potential being collapsed down into a potential. We are beyond magnificent. And it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from, your past, what you've done in this world. It doesn't matter if you've murdered 1 billion people. You are still more magnificent than the sum total of the entirety of humanity's thoughts. Because you are the ocean, not the thoughts. It's a mesmerizing thing is our reality. It's mesmerizing. We get lost in it. We think it's all real. We don't notice it changes all the time. Oh, that looks real. No, now that looks real. Oh no, now that looks real. No, now that looks real. Oh no, now I'm back to that looking real. No, but now that looks real. We're trying to make sense of it by looking at something that comes and goes. Flows through. We don't notice the nature of it. It's illusory, it's temporary. Each wave is a temporary manifestation of the ocean. But the ocean is permanent. The waves that you had as a 5-year-old are very different to the waves you have as a 46-year-old. But you were there to see the 5-year-old's waves, and you were there to see the 30-year-old's waves, and the 40-year-old's waves, and the 46-year-old's waves. You've always been there. The ocean was always there, creating. You are the creator. We're all the creator. You are more powerful than anything you can even dream. Like Mark said, people say, I'll believe it when I see it. That's not true. You will see it when you believe it. Wake up, see it's a dream. And then when you wake up and you see it's a dream, there's nothing to do. You don't need to pat yourself on the back or thank anybody. You just see it's a dream. You see reality is a manifestation of thought. It's an experience of mind, consciousness. Every single living organism on the planet is its own reality generator. It sees a different world. Every single organism on the planet, every single ant in a colony sees a different reality. No two ants on the planet see the same world, like no two people. We're talking big, massive, universal fact. It applies to all people, it applies to all fish, it applies to all trees, it applies to all insects, it applies to all fungus. It applies to whatever beings there are in this universe. They're all conscious, thinking, experiential reality. And every single one of them thinks their reality is real. 7 billion people on the planet. Every single one of us sees a different world. Every single one of us thinks the way we see the world is true. We think it's real. Who sees the true reality? You'll never see the true reality by looking through thoughts. The true reality lies in that creates the thought, the self, the spirit, the beingness, the I am. I am. Why did Jesus say, before Abraham, I am? He got crucified for that. They thought he was saying, oh, you think you're above Abraham, do you? And he said, that wasn't Jesus' point. Jesus' point was, before the story of Abraham, like before the story of Dave, before the story of Jen, the story of Mark, Colette, Emma, I am. For eternity. I am happy. I am sad. I am mentally ill. I am healed. I am hungry. I am greedy. I am not greedy. I am male. I am whatever. I am is what we are. The rest of it, whatever we put after I am, is a story. It's an illusion. The ocean is I am. The wave is anything that the ocean produces. So in that respect, Jesus was absolutely correct. I am is the truest state. It's the real you, it's the real me, it's the real I, it's the real self. For all people and all things. That's why everything is one, because everybody and everything is I am. I am is the power of thought. I am is consciousness. I am is mind. That before the form is taken. That before the idea is dreamt. Totally perfect and whole. The reality we see is an illusion of I am, is an illusion of the ocean. It's an illusion of mind, it's an illusion of consciousness, it's an illusion of thought, the power of thought. The ego. Anything that comes after I am. Anything that comes after I am. That's all it ever was. It's all it ever is, and it's all it ever will be. We're reconnecting with our true self. We think we have to fix ourselves because we think we are limited, because we think we are thoughts. Sorry, didn't say something. Did it? Sorry. Because we think we are thoughts. That's where all the confusion in life starts. I'm texting Mark. Fine.
I was texting to see if someone had dropped off for a reason. Wasn't sure if you'd been offensive, but you hadn't.
What?
I wasn't sure if your inappropriate joke had made someone drop off early.
They're in the wrong spot.
Dave makes no apologies for his inappropriate jokes.
They're always the best ones.
There's certain ones I can handle, and there's certain ones that when he starts telling it, I feel myself dying a little bit inside. Please don't tell this joke, especially to this group of people. And I think it makes you love it even more.
Not Kelly's not enough.
I just love the blatant disregard for the rules.
What rules?
Exactly. That's the best thing about you, Dave.
I remember Mara
Rules are
saying
ways.
her dad sees rules as suggestions. And I was like, that is Dave. He sees rules as a suggestion, not as a rule. And they're just like, no, I don't like that suggestion, so I'm not going to do that. But then I went for, where were we with your mum? And there's just a big sign saying, do not enter. And she's like, well, I'm not walking all the way around. And she just walked straight through. And I was just like, oh, that's where Dave learned to really not listen to the rules. Whereas I would have walked all the way around in the pouring rain.
Rules.
So I just followed her and hid.
Rules, all these rules in the world. More and more rules coming in, by the way, because people don't know how to live. We all know how to live. That's how we're going to change this planet. Is because people are going to find their own strength. They're going to stop looking to other people to be fixed, because they're going to know that they're okay already. I was always all right. And that's going to change the planet. We all know how to live. We all know what's right. We all know what kindness is and love. We all know that love is the answer. We all know that. And you know that more when you connect with yourself. Because when you connect with yourself, you fall in love with yourself. just the recognition of you. And you are love. Everything is love. We'll all find out when we die. Find out whilst you're alive, that's a treat, because you get to live your life knowing it. And that's what we're here for. We're here to wake up during the dream of life, to say it's a dream and then go and play. How do you want to live? What do you want to do? What makes your heart sing? That, go do it. One of my favourite things was when Jesus was asked, how do you best serve God? And he said, just do that you love. If you're serving yourself, you're making yourself happy. God is love. God, fear is a complete illusion. It's the opposite. Of which there isn't even an opposite. Just the illusion of it. All fear is an illusion.
Before I forget, I was going to say to people, save the date. We're going to do another virtual retreat, January 22nd to 24th. So far, we've got Christine Heath as guest speaker. She's someone that maybe other people might not have heard of, but she's been around it a long time, and she was part of setting up a centre in Minnesota for the principals with Joe Bailey, I think back in the 80s, and then she went out to Hawaii and she's had like a counselling and wellbeing clinic out there. She's done a lot with women with domestic violence, mental health. She's gone into business, so she's confirmed. Hoping Elsie's going to come back, because I always try and get Elsie if we can. Joe can't make it, he's away skiing, but there'll probably three guest speakers and us, and it'll be 22nd to 24th of Jan, and it's by donation. And we say to people, if you can't donate, pay it forward with an act of kindness, and if you can let us know what that is, let us know, because it is really nice.
Yeah,
people
only one person told us last time, didn't
two
they?
people, I think.
Was it two?
One person said it was their friend's birthday, so they baked them a cake and took it round to the house.
Yeah. It's so nice, it's like, that's what we do say, because we are aware this time certainly last year it was difficult for people, so we did say, like, if you can't afford to donate, then please pay it forward with an act of kindness. But only two people, I said, tell us what it is, only two people told us, didn't they? But when we found out what it was so nice just to know that that was going out into the world.
And a few people did donate, and then they still did an act of kindness.
Yeah.
And they let us know what that was. But yeah, we're looking forward to that. I think we love being able to do those throughout lockdown, and we have realised like the in-person is probably our favourite. And I kept telling Mark that it didn't make much difference, and that I wasn't going to do an in-person retreat. And then when we did the in-person retreat, I realised that magic, that actually I've really missed it. I've really missed being with everyone and seeing all the conversations over dinner and stuff. So it's not quite the same, but it is brilliant.
Xander's just put, I was on the Zoom call with Christine Heath before joining this call. It was an awesome conversation.
She's a brilliant lady. Very funny as well. I think we often go to the same old people because we love them. And then I've got some thinking about, well, I hope they don't think I'm not inviting them because, but then I just thought it'd be so nice to have different speakers, especially people who, in some ways, I think she's a bit of an unsung hero. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her speak.
Yeah, so join us if you can. 22nd of
January. What month are we in now?
November.
2 months?
Yeah, some
Yeah, 2
close.
months away.
Any questions? Does that, I know it's been quite heavy, but was
Mm.
how's that sat with you, love?
Yeah, I think because when I got like I said, it was in episodes, so 6 years ago, and then about 3 years ago now. But what really helped me before, I remember talking to Stacey Levine, I had an intensive with her in London, was that thing about this will pass, you know. And Lizzie, who you know, my friend, she said to me, you could be crying on the sofa, you could be in a really bad state, but you will eventually have the thought, oh, I need to eat something, or I need the loo. It will change, you know. And that really helped, just to, this too shall pass. Like, it's like you said, the thoughts and the analogy of the ocean as well. We did that before, but the way you've explained it again tonight, and yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you.
We're always looking at the wave. We want people to wake up to the ocean.
Yeah.
Where does this reality come from? And what is it? And when you wake up and you see it's all made of the same stuff, like every single dream you've ever dreamt for the entirety of all the times you've slept, it's always been an experience within the mind. And it's looked real. Now, the dream in the nighttime, you would never say is anything but thought within consciousness. But it's shown up in so many different ways throughout our lifetimes. It's always been the same thing. Thought within consciousness, thought within consciousness. And the same force has created nightmares, and it's created the most amazing dreams where we can fly. But it's all made of the same stuff. Why do we think there are two modalities of working, one when we're asleep and one when we're awake? There isn't. There's just one modality of working. There's only ever been one modality. There's only one. The same force that animates the dream of the sleep state animates the dream of the awake state. All comes from the same space inside our own being. See that? There's nothing to be afraid of. You see, fear is just an impression created by that space. And that space is pure love. Unified. The unifying force. Unifying. One. Unifying force. Universal. One. Universe. Universal. Unifying. One. It's in all things. It's in you and I, in all of us. It's what we are. Can't even say it's in us. It is literally what we are.
Didn't have a break.
You didn't do it. Anybody else?
Hiya.
I am Mel.
You're right.
Yeah, you.
Yeah, good. I just want to say, obviously, with the girls having a bit of a full-on week, like last 2 days with temperatures and all sorts of stuff, and Chris was away last night. My last few days, I experienced it one way, and I've actually experienced it in a kind of weird, not a nice way, because obviously I've been worried about them, but it's been a really different experience. And obviously, I think everyone on this call has probably been around the principles for a long time. But for anyone that hasn't, I mean, I've been around this since I was, about 30, I think, and I'm 39 now. it's just so worth hanging around, like, because I just see more and more from it, and sometimes it's even like it's all new. It's like, oh my god, and this again, and this again, and this again, and it's one of those things I've always said to you. I would not change this understanding for all the money in the world. I wouldn't change it for anything. And it's just to say, if anyone's a bit unsure, just, yeah, it's just priceless. I just want to say that. So I just feel so great understanding all the time. But these, and stressed out about things, but I've got such a deep knowing that I will just feel different about it soon. And I don't, and I've had thoughts in my mind sometimes that are like, oh my goodness, where did that come from? But actually, like, I just don't care. Like, and I'm not underestimating anything that anyone's, you know, I'm not Emma. I hope that doesn't come across like, you know, oh, I just don't care. Like, that's not what I mean at all. But I have had some thoughts go through my mind, and actually I would have a few years ago made that something personal about me, that I was broken, I was damaged. Maybe the way I've been brought up has made me think like that. Maybe it's a genetic thing. Maybe I'm absolutely ruined. I was with this being around it. I know it's nothing to do with me. I know that when my babies, I look at my baby, she couldn't come up with that stuff because she's never been exposed to that stuff. So she couldn't possibly come up with it the way that you couldn't when you weren't exposed to it. We just, stuff is around us and it comes in and it goes out. Like, you know, our babies would never be diagnosed with any of this stuff. And you were that baby. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I just to hang around. It's just, for me, it was, and again, these last few days I've really appreciated having the understanding. So yeah, I just wanted to say thank you and just say something rather than just say nothing.
Love.
Thank you.
Thanks, love.
Right.
It was the greatest gift I ever discovered as well. Okay, let's call it an evening. Thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome, love. Next week.
Be at Janet's, but we can still do it if you want. Janet might want to do it with us.
Perhaps we'll do it on another night, shall we? Or should we do it with Janet? Should we do it another night?
It would be the next week because we haven't got a night next week.
Right. So there won't be one next week. But the week after, we'll be doing another one.
If we change our mind about doing it with Janet, then
yeah, keep an eye on WhatsApp, on Facebook
and WhatsApp.
and WhatsApp. We'll stop recording.